Welcome. Every fourth Sunday of the month, Bellevue First United Methodist Church focuses on a timely social justice issue. We call these Sundays ACT Sundays because we know that action changes things. It is important that we move beyond learning about issues to taking action on those issues. This month, we're focusing on our commitments to buying from Black-owned businesses as a way to support the Black community. Timely because of all the holiday buying that is happening, but also in hopes that you'll be inspired to make a commitment to change at least a small part of your shopping behavior for all of 2021 with a commitment to buy Black.
In mid-2020, at the request of the Social Action Ministry team, our church leadership committed to buying from Black-owned businesses and hiring Black-owned contractors whenever possible. 6 months later, we're still struggling with how exactly to accomplish that and what exactly that means. How does one find a Black-owned contractor? Does hiring a company with Black employees accomplish the same thing? What products can we buy from Black-owned businesses? Can we justify the added expense of those items which aren't as cheap as those same kind of things on Amazon? Is all the work really worth it?
As individuals wanting to help our Black neighbors, we all struggle with these same questions when we make a commitment to buy Black. We hope today's presentation will answer some of those questions and provide you with enough resources that you will make a commitment to one specific action for 2021.
Today, we're going to examine 5 ways that buying from Black-owned businesses can have an impact. After that, we'll explore practical tips on how to find Black-owned businesses we want to support. In this way, we can each help change the narrative of economic disparity in our country. Let's start with the racial wealth gap.
Buying from Black-owned businesses helps close the racial wealth gap. Wealth is defined as the sum of the wages that people earn for work, plus the value of their homes, investments, and other assets minus their debts. More wealth makes for a more comfortable, safer living, and more importantly, it is passed on to the next generation. The wealth of many white families gives their children a boost at birth, an advantage that many of their Black peers lack. The racial wealth gap is the difference between the wealth of Black families and that of white families.
There are many historical reasons for this lack of wealth among Black families. For more information, please check out this 15-minute episode of Netflix's Explained titled The Racial Wealth Gap, available on YouTube.
When you buy from a Black-owned business, you help build wealth. Black entrepreneurs face challenges in financing their businesses. Cash is the most popular small business financing method among Black business owners. With less access to capital, the chances of a Black business being successful decreases. Black-owned businesses apply for credit more often than white-owned businesses, but it comes as no surprise that their approval rate is significantly less than that for white business owners. Without accumulated wealth to start a business and difficulty obtaining credit, Black entrepreneurs are more likely to fail or to not even get off the ground. Buying from Black-owned businesses makes a difference, though, as it provides capital for struggling entrepreneurs.
Buying from any small local business also strengthens the community, but this is even more important for Black-owned businesses. The longer a dollar stays in a community, the more benefit it has for that community. Here's a clip from TEDx Grand Rapids talk by Maggie Anderson, who, with her family, decided to buy only from Black-owned businesses for an entire year. She explains this phenomenon well.
Philanthropy is commendable, but it must not cause the philanthropist to overlook the circumstances of economic injustice which make philanthropy necessary. Dr. Martin Luther King said that. Now, what is this economic injustice he was talking about? What are these circumstances he was talking about? In America, in the Asian community, the dollar circulates among the community's banks and retailers and professionals for about 28 days before it leaves the community. In Jewish communities, that circulation period is about 19 days. In WASP communities, predominantly white areas, if you will, the dollar stays 17 days. My Hispanic brothers and sisters keep their dollar for about a week. And in the Black community, the community Dr. King was slain fighting for, we keep our dollar for 6 hours. Let me tell you what that means in real life terms. That means in Asian communities, Asian kids get to see business owners who look like them every day, all the time. There are Asian banks and insurance companies and grocery stores all over the community, and those businesses employ from the community, and the families take care of those businesses and vice versa. Asian unemployment in America is at a low 4 to 5%. Most Asian Americans, over 50%, are self-employed or employed by Asian firms. Those circumstances, that economic and business growth, lead to high educational attainment. There's business and political power, low poverty, strong businesses, low crime in Asian neighborhoods. 6 hours in the Black community. Let me tell you what that means. That means that Black kids can't see business owners who look like them every day. There are no Black-owned grocery stores and dry cleaners and pharmacies and clothing stores locally owned in the Black community. So the people there cannot get jobs, much less create jobs in the community. So Black unemployment in places like Detroit and Gary and Oakland, sometimes 40%. And those circumstances lead to social problems like recidivism, high crime, high gang and drug activity, poverty. That's what's going on with those 6 hours. And those disparities cause the same kind of problems in the corporate space. 60% of the money that is spent with Asian suppliers in corporate America, so your Asian professional firms, Asian products you see on the shelves, used to be spent with Black-owned businesses. And the same kind of shift has happened between Hispanic businesses and Black-owned businesses. That's why when you go into a grocery store, you'll see whole aisles full of products coming from Asian companies, from Hispanic companies. So let's go to the grocery store or the drugstore and see where the Black-oriented products are. You go there, you'll see products like these. You'll see Spotin Wave and Less Jam and Smooth and Shine and Dark and Lovely and Strength of Nature and Dark and Natural and Stay Soft Fro. All those products that only Black people buy every day. 100% Black market. All those products are owned by L'Oreal, a company out of France. All those billions of dollars leave the Black community. Some of that money could come back if L'Oreal had supplier diversity, if L'Oreal was doing any business with Black-owned firms. L'Oreal only has Black buyers, no Black suppliers. Same deal with Hennessy. Hennessy, Wall Street Journal estimates between 60 to 80% of Hennessy's US market comes from the Black community. That means that Hennessy closes down tomorrow without Black consumers. Billions and billions of dollars going outside of the community. Hennessy has no Black distributors, no Black suppliers, does not advertise in Black-owned media or use Black-owned advertising agencies. So, bottom line, most of the businesses in Black areas are not Black-owned. Most of the products catering to Black culture don't come from Black companies. Black unemployment is highest among any group in America. Black firms are the highest employer of Black people. So I can give you more. Chicago, 60 KFC franchises, most of them full of Black people and Black money every day. None of them owned by Black franchisees. I'm just trying to give you this picture of the circumstances of economic injustice Dr. King referred to.
We've all seen evidence that children need to see examples of themselves in all walks of life to really comprehend that those areas are open to them too. The tears from young women of all walks of life and their mothers on election night brought that home for all of us as it suddenly became true, for real, that all little girls can grow up to be Vice President of the United States like Kamala Harris. Beyond providing role models, buying from businesses that are local to your community has far-reaching effects. We are all somewhat familiar with the environmental benefits of buying local. Your carbon footprint is decreased, cutting down on fuel consumption and air pollution. But there is also an economic effect. For example, let's look at a local farmer growing produce. First, they sell to a local restaurant, which in turn prepares the food for local customers. The farmer pays for local employees, and the restaurant uses revenue from sales to buy supplies from a local hardware store. This recirculation of money in the local economy leads to a stronger financial foundation for the community, which then attracts other professional businesses such as banks, investment companies, and accountants. And when you buy local instead of from that big box store, an additional 34% of purchasing power is recirculated within the community.
Buying from Black-owned businesses fosters job creation. Remember what Maggie Anderson pointed out in that clip. Locally owned small businesses hire from people within the community. As you can see from this chart, Black people have much higher unemployment than other ethnic groups across time. In fact, for the last 60 years, Black unemployment has been about twice as high as white unemployment. Buying from Black-owned businesses allows business owners to hire more employees from within their community, which in turn provides role models and helps decrease unemployment.
Creating new jobs through buying from a Black-owned business is an action that just keeps on creating change. It provides funding to hire employees, it allows employees to gain skills and training, and eventually it allows employees to move up the ladder to greater financial stability. Now, a side note. Hiring a Black-owned contractor or buying from a Black-owned company is much different from hiring a contractor or buying from a store that has Black employees. While it is great that there are jobs filled by Black people, that job by itself does not permit the growth of wealth. Nationwide, full-time workers of color earn 23% less than their white counterparts, and many jobs in small local businesses are at or only slightly above minimum wage with few benefits. Owning a business is the asset of a Black proprietor, and it is the long-term growth of those assets that leads to intergenerational wealth. Your purchases at Black-owned businesses can create more opportunities for meaningful savings, property ownership, credit building, and generational wealth for the business owners, and more jobs for people in the community.
Buying from a Black-owned business celebrates the skills, heritage, and culture of artists and entrepreneurs. It says loud and clear that Black culture has value. Black culture produces some beautiful items we can all appreciate. Jewelry, stationery, linens, clothing, face masks, and cookies.
Buying from a Black-owned business also means that you aren't buying from a major chain or big box store, which does not value Black culture. Examples of this devaluation of Black culture include the Gucci blackface sweater, the H&M ad with a young Black boy in a coolest monkey in the jungle sweatshirt, Starbucks having issues with employees treating Black customers unfairly, and hiring practices that don't prioritize minority representation among big tech companies. Black Americans face endless inequities and mistreatment at the hands of corporate America. This is unfortunately not all that rare. Buying from Black-owned businesses makes inroads into some of these issues.
So, how do you go about buying from Black-owned business? Since there aren't a lot of large Black-owned corporations, and most of those are financial service companies, it isn't always easy to find the Black-owned business or products you need. Buying from Black-owned businesses takes commitment. It takes a little time, and it may take a little more money. But all of those benefits we just discussed, they make it all worthwhile.
First, do like the wise finance chairperson at our church. Figure out where in your monthly spending you have choices and which are areas where buying Black is possible. We all have many parts of our budget about which we have little or no choice. The utilities from which we get our electricity, internet, and water, the financial institution that currently holds our mortgage, the store where we buy most of our groceries. But there are many other areas where we do make choices, from who our insurance agent is to where we buy books, which restaurants we go to for takeout, and where we buy those special gifts and one-time purchases.
Next, do your research. Where are the Black-owned businesses close to you? These two maps show Black-owned businesses in Bellevue and Kirkland. Not a lot, but it's nice to know there are painters we can hire, a few restaurants we can patronize, an environmental consultant, and a private primary school. There are other useful tools for finding local Black-owned businesses.
Rank Tribe lists professionals like lawyers, which are searchable by city and specialty.
Is there a particular area where you typically do your shopping or a particular item you'd like to find? Look online. Like to shop at Pike Place? There's a page online where they list all the stores and vendors at Pike Place that are Black-owned. Or is Target your go-to place? Check out Target's Black-owned or founded brands. They're identifiable with a special tag and can all be seen online before you shop in store. Do your research and find some options that work for you and provide what you can use.
There are a ton of great Black-owned restaurants in the Seattle area that can use your business right about now. So check Google Maps for Black-owned restaurants or any of the online lists and apps, and work out delivery or curbside pickup the next time you get hungry.
Do you like wine? Try searching Black-owned wine companies, and the first one you'll find is McBride Sisters, which not only is the largest Black-owned wine company in the United States, but one of the most inclusive, accessible, socially aware, and sustainable. Available at QFC and Fred Meyer. And if you're more of a beer person, there are options for you too. Meter beers from Woodinville are available at PCC everywhere.
If you are looking for everyday essentials like laundry soap, garbage bags, etc., that you could buy on a regular basis, check out We Buy Black. You'll be surprised what all is out there if you spend some time looking. Another option once you find a product you'd like to try is to find out who sells it locally. Our church found some copy paper from a Black-owned business in the Southeast, which would have cost a fortune to ship to the church. But then we found that it was available at Office Depot. That's a win-win. We support a Black-owned business, and Office Depot finds that that chance they took with a small paper company is paying off.
Then there's Amazon. They have a list of Black-owned vendors that they work with and a special page on which to search for items from Black-owned companies. But if you aren't into supporting Amazon or can't find what you want there, check out 3Z Company. Started by a Black family with 3 young entrepreneurial sons, they stock a huge variety of brands, mostly non-Black-owned brands, at reasonable prices. The product producers may not be Black-owned, but the retailer is.
Lastly, there are gifts for Christmas, birthdays, and other occasions, and other kinds of one-time purchases. Etsy has a page from which you can search for Black-owned businesses on their website. And there's Red Tricycle and its family-friendly Black-owned businesses like Local Yokels, a small Black-owned farm that sources food from other small farms across Washington and delivers subscription boxes year-round. Apartment Therapy, which has home decorating items from Black-owned businesses, and Seattle Good, which includes everything from restaurants to candles, jewelry to pasta from Black-owned businesses, as well as lots of other ways to buy local and support communities in Seattle.
So, you know what kinds of items you like to buy. You've done the research. It's time to make a commitment. Which Black-owned businesses will you support? It will likely become obvious at this point that this support of Black-owned businesses will cost more than buying the same items from larger companies and retailers. But think back to the good that this will do across generations of people in the Black community and make the commitment. As our office manager said about the copy paper from a Black-owned company, I'm willing to pay that small amount more to support a Black-owned company, and I'll find another place in my budget to save a little.
Add all of the great Black-owned business options you've found to your regular shopping plans. Fit the ones you like into your weekly routine and use their products and services consistently. Tell people about them. Word of mouth recommendations bring more validity to a business than any advertisement it could place. Follow and post about the businesses you support on social media. When you follow a business on social media, you're reminded of it whenever their posts pop up on your feed. And posting about Black-owned businesses you like raises their profile, and spreads the word about them to people they might not otherwise reach. Write positive and constructive reviews online, which bring in direct traffic to that business. And if you have an unsatisfactory experience, leave a note for the business during your visit or write a constructive review with suggestions.
Every time you intentionally buy something from a Black-owned business, you are helping to create the kind of world in which you want to live.
Let us know how buying Black works out for you. On our website, we'll find a resource list with links to all the sites we discussed today, plus many more, at fumcbellevue.org/buyblack. Please multiply the good you can do in the world by sending this video on to someone else who might be interested and sharing the resource list as well. Thanks. Happy shopping.